Nice. Hey guys, how's it going? Chris Connor here, and welcome to another episode of Filmmaker Reacts, the series where we take a look at awesome cinematics, and in part 1 I react to them, and in part 2 we dive in to have a cool discussion about filmmaking techniques, as well as visual effects, whether it is a project that we're going to do in real life, etc. If it's something that you're interested in, guys, have a look in the channel, because there are a lot of tutorials on how to do these effects, and whether it is something fun that you want to do with some friends or whether it is something you want to take more seriously, Creatrix Visuals is an awesome place to be. And with that is a great segue to talk about the Creatrix store, where it has all the awesome assets to make those cool effects. So have a look, guys, in the description. I would really appreciate it, and it's really exciting if you guys want to have a look on how to do some of these awesome things that we're gonna take a look at. Now, a bit of a disclaimer, guys, I don't proclaim to be an absolute expert in the field, but my job is to be a freelancer, whether it is working on short films, on commercial projects, on novelty projects that you guys might have seen on my YouTube channel, etc. So sit back, relax, because today, based on your recommendations, guys, we're gonna have a look at Cyberpunk 2077. Make sure you guys leave all your recommendations in the comment section below. I go through everything because this is a really awesome way to interact with you guys, and I really enjoy this series. So let's dive into YouTube, and I have the cinematic pulled up here. Now, I think I've seen this once back in the day in the E3 Xbox show, but it's been a while, so I'm excited to see it again and then have a discussion about it. So if you're ready, guys, let's jump right into it. CD Projekt Red presents. Nice.
V, my man, you made it. You blowing up all over the news. Are you alone?
I just want the money.
You got the chip? All right, start her up, why don't you go to the bathroom, wash up, we gonna be with you in a minute. Oh, come on, man. Your neck, it's a mess.
Fair point.
We do know the suspect seems to have fled the scene.
Initiating combat mode.
Go!
Destination confirmed.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about! Alright, in and out, bitches! We're rich! Oh, we are going to the major leagues, Jackie!
Oh.
Jack? Oh, shit! No. Okay, get to a clinic, now.
Mr. Wells' condition is critical.
Go!
Immediate medical
It's gonna
help
be
is
okay.
required.
Just hold on. Hey, just think about all the good shit we're gonna have, huh? I'm sorry.
Oh, damn. That was fast. Here we go.
Just take the fucking chip, Dex.
Every corporal cop in this city's gonna be blasting down these doors after what you and your psycho friend did. We didn't need all this cocksucking attention, damn it.
Strong feelings. Nice. Ooh. Ooh. Cyberpunk. This was my favorite scene, I do remember this.
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
Keanu Reeves. Man, does it have anything on the back? No, cool. Because last time you guys got angry at me, I forgot the after credit scene. Man, that was so cool. Okay. Let's go back at the beginning. Now, CD Projekt Red is a really awesome company. Not just for gaming, but they put a lot of effort when it comes to their cinematic trailers. I've done a reaction on The Witcher, and I'm not sure if it's the same studio that did this one, but I always love their stuff because it's just so high quality. And this trailer was awesome, and it just puts you right in with the main character, and it was freaking amazing. Look, so I hope you enjoyed the reaction, guys. Let's dive into this. So I'm gonna go back to the beginning, and now we're gonna go step by step and kind of have a discussion about what is happening. So, CD Projekt Red presents. First note, in the Witcher trailer, they did the same thing. If you notice here, they first bleed the sound, so we first can hear a bit of wind and some city traffic, and then the image comes up. This is a very good kind of technique to use to pull your audience in, and it actually tells a lot to the audience even though there's no image. So first, usually you have your logo, maybe a title, but you first bleed in the sound because the audience already, just by the sound, is going to start creating an image, and then you drop them in with the screen. So we have the establishing scene that we are in Metropolis and it's way into the future. We have very neon color schemes and it looks really cool. I'm gonna let it play for a bit. Nice. Okay, so this scene is actually really important because it shows us some police vehicles, so it tells us that something went up, and then we dive down into the street level, which is where we would be, and we lower down as the car approaches, and we see bullet holes. And since we saw the police cars, we can start telling that something's up, and we are in kind of a greedy setting when it comes to the street and the hotel, motel, whatever it is. And it's very awesome the way that they actually moved the camera through space. If we were to replicate this in real life, we would use a 3-axis gimbal. And for this shot, it's either a medium lens, for example, a 13mm when it comes to APS-C, or a 16mm. And we would be able to pull this off. Now, it's very interesting because they take us from the sky, because remember, we opened up with the Metropolis shot. They take us from the sky to the street level, and then the camera flows as the car approaches. And this is actually used a lot in movies, whether there is a bad guy reveal or a main character reveal, where basically there is a car that approaches and stops in front of the camera, and the camera sweeps in, then the door opens, and we see the shoe, boots, or whatever it is from the character, and then we smoothly transition up to them. Gun. And then we follow them as they go in. This is a very cool way because we haven't seen the main character yet. So we cut to the inside. When it comes to those cuts, you don't have to show the entire transition of a character in real time. For example, technically in this story, he walked in, maybe he went up some stairs, etc., but they just cut directly. And this is used to save the audience some time because the audience can, by themselves, are very clever in a way that they can link those shots together, and they understand that basically the character move up and you don't actually need to show them. When you do this kind of cuts and kind of in time, you save audience's attention because they don't get bored. And if you see they cut to a different scene that's completely different. It's not linked through an action, but they cut it with another action in the next scene. So they cut it directly when he knocks on the door. Now we have the first shot of the character. Now, this might not be intentional, or it might be, but usually when you decide to place the camera a bit lower and looking up the character, this creates kind of a view of a hero. This is kind of a hero shot. When you have the camera looking at them from a lower angle, you tell the audience that they're in control, they have strength, they have presence. Whether if you reverse this and you have the camera looking down on them, you give the audience the perception that the character is in a weakened state or he's not as confident and things like that. The design, by the way, is amazing. I love sci-fi, and I haven't done a lot of things with sci-fi. I've done some concepts. I thought it was Paragon, and some sci-fi gunblats, which I want to do more, but this is really cool and I love the color scheme so far. Our Brute.
Several blocks down the street. Fortunately, fire crews report they managed to contain the
Really
blaze.
cool. Walking
Be
in.
my man. You made it. You blow.
Some things to keep in mind, guys, here. If you notice the framing of the shot, this is called rule of thirds. Basically, if you segment the composition into thirds, you place your characters in one of those thirds. If it's a single character, you can start having them from the center and then move them like here, so you give the viewer more space to look what's happening. Or in this case, that you have two characters and a conversation is going to occur, you place them each one to the rule of thirds. Another interesting thing to keep in mind, guys, if I scroll back just a touch, if you notice here from the first scene, look at the perspective that we as the viewer stand in this clip. We're basically on the right hand of the character. And as it moves through, we stay on that side. And this is called the 180 rule. Basically, sometimes you can break it, but in general, as a rule of thumb, let's say, you have to follow the 180 rule so that you do not confuse the audience and the viewer. So basically, if you start from the right side of the character's shoulder, you should remain on that shoulder as you go through. And here that we're going to have a discussion, when we switch to the other character, we should be on this shoulder and not that one. Because if you switch the perspective, then the viewer is going to be confused because you're crossing the axis of the 180 rule.
You blowing up all over the news.
See how we are still on the same perspective?
You alone?
I just want the money.
You got the chip?
In terms of cameras, if this was real life, I'm using the Sony a6300, so I would use the 30mm 1.4 to create this kind of cinematic look with the bokeh in the background, etc. when it comes to the characters talking. And in terms of the wider scenes, I would switch to another lens that I love, the Sigma f1.4 16mm.
All right, start her up,
So basically, in terms of story, we can already tell that a character is kind of some shady things, and he went into an underground mob-like motel kind of situation, and he has something that they want.
To the bathroom, wash up. We gonna be with you in a minute. Oh, come on.
And now, through the story, we, as the viewer, getting pointed to the fact that he's bloody.
Man, your neck, it's a mess.
Now we switch perspectives, by the way.
Security has yet to comment. We do know the suspect seems to have fled the scene.
With this scene, I mean, can you get more like villainy? Like we have a thug kind of character with a cigar, and he's also giving this look as our character goes to the bathroom. This is really cool, because this reminds me of a few scenes that I did myself when it comes to the mirror. Again, guys, rule of thirds, look where he's placed in the composition, and it's as if we're standing behind him and we're looking at him. I really love working with mirrors because I think they're very cinematic by themselves, because it's a reflection and you can play with a character reflecting on themselves, as we can see here, and they're going to use it, as we saw, to transition to his flashback, which is really cool. Again, they bleed the sound of the flashback first, even though we're still on real time and he is looking himself, because you bleed in the memory of the sound, and that helps us as the viewer to blend in with what's coming as well. Here, guys, I want you to focus on the difference between camera movement. So far, it has been an extremely fluid movement, very stable, just moving through space. And that's because in our storyline, nothing intense is happening. Many times when you move to an intense scene, whether it is a fight scene, a gunshot, whatever it is, it's useful to take some of the steadiness of the camera out of the scene to enhance the violence that's happening. Now, sometimes, unfortunately, filmmakers do go overboard with shaky cam and the viewer is just lost. But some camera movement really can enhance your more action-oriented scenes. And if you take a look as we're watching this scene, you can see the camera movement. See?
Initiating combat mode.
Go!
Destination.
Epic way, by the way, to follow the character. That's the thing about action scenes. Many times, unfortunately, filmmakers have to use a lot of cuts throughout an action scene because either the action is difficult to be performed or they have limitations, and unfortunately, in order to create a cohesive edit, they have to cut a lot. But even if you want to have the creative decision of use a shaky cam, by having the camera not cut all the time and kind of us, the viewers, follow our characters through the action and through the mayhem, it's a really cool way to basically make them get into the scene.
That's what I'm talking about!
So if I go back for just a second, when it comes to the bullets and the gunshots, here with the flares, I've done an advanced gunshot tutorial that's on the channel, and I think if it's something that you're interested, guys, is a great tutorial. It's a bit of an oldie, but all the information is there as to how to basically paint some light and have the magic flash, as well as sound design, because many skip sound design when it comes to gunshot, but there is a tutorial on that one as well. When it comes to the bullet holes, you can use 2D sparks, as you guys can see, and basically have the spark asset and have it flare up as if bullets fly all through space. Then we transition into the car and they drive away, and our character is very excited.
Alright, in and out, bitches! We're rich!
It's very interesting because he's so into what's happening that he missed that his friend is wounded, and he's just in the excitement of like going through it.
Oh, we are going to the major leagues, Jackie! Jack? Oh shit! No. Okay, get to a clinic now.
Mr. Wells' condition is critical.
We're introduced to some aspects of the world. The taxi is self-driven, there is voice controls and all of these things.
Go!
Immediate medical
It's gonna
help
be
is
okay.
required.
Just hold on. Hey, just think about all the good shit we're gonna have, huh?
Again, rule of thirds. It's very interesting to look at the design of his jacket because it's very neon and very futuristic. And of course, I love the way that they've done their faces to make them less humane, but still human. Now, this is an extremely difficult thing to pull with VFX constantly, so it would be amazing if you were to replicate this in real life to have a very good makeup artist to do this prosthetics, and that would be awesome. But we would have to work in terms of visuals to position maybe light effects and some eye things. And of course, this... Actually, if I have to be honest with you, it took me a bit off the story while I was watching it because his skin turned dark and kind of like as if all the blood came out of him. I mean, he is wounded, so blood is going out of him. But for me, the saturation of the character went away very quickly. Like usually, if you had something like, let's say, a zombie effect or like kind of a weird virus thing going on, and you want to show the rapidness of how quickly it turns someone, then it's cool. But I think here, personal opinion, it was a bit too hasty.
I'm sorry.
I love this scene, the blood and the item, and just the focus of how the scene was made. And that was amazing. Look at this transition. This is top-notch stuff. So they show us the hand from the flashback, and then with the exact same orientation and composition of the hand, we cut to real time with the faucet and the water running. That is perfection. So now we caught up with the story, the fact that they pulled off a job, but he lost his friend. He didn't really have time to reflect on it because he's just carry on. And he's like, I just need to go through this. Boom. Okay, more things to talk about here, guys. When it's real time and we didn't cut because we want to progress the story and do a time jump, it's always good to cut when there is an action happening. Because when you just cut in a jarring way, then the audience doesn't understand why you're cutting so much. There is the infamous scene from Taken where Liam Neeson has to jump over a fence. And that would be an example of overcutting. We don't know why that choice was made in post-production. But basically, the general rule is when you want to cut when there is a blending action between the shots. So when you have a character getting punched, show the punch, and within a few frames, cut to the next scene so they're linked between the action that happens in frame. So if you take a look here, when he gets punched, we have a cut. Boom, right there. And again, if you notice, we moved more to a free flow kind of camera movement. That was interesting. So it's really fast, so we would need to watch it again. But they do give us a few details here about what is happening with him. For example, something here has failed, and some other things in his body are still good to go. Man, how cool is this? Epic.
Chip decks.
Every corporal cop in this city is gonna be blasting down these doors after what you and your psycho friend did.
So this is a very good way and a very good example to showcase kind of storytelling without being on the nose. So he's giving us exposition that what our main character did is very big and everyone's gonna look for them, but they found a way to implement this in the story in a way that our antagonist in this case, he's just blasting and he's saying the information that I think everyone knows even before they pulled off the job, but it's implemented in a great way for us, the viewer, to be like, ooh, okay, cool.
Down these doors after what you and your psycho friend did. We didn't need all this cocksucking attention, damn it.
Very stylistic things with the smoke and everything. If we were to kind of do this in terms of cinematography and light setup, we will have to use a lot of LEDs, but you will have to use, basically there is some gels that you put on top of the lights, and they have colors. For example, they're blue gels, they're pink gels like this one, and then you will wrap them in the light setup, as I have done, if you notice, in this edge light with the blue, and that's how thematically we would create a sci-fi settings, because futuristic things are very colorful but gritty at the same time. So this is really cool. Kind of like the character getting a second wind. Again, see how now we're cutting a lot faster because the action and the momentum builds up. Ooh. Epic. Oh yeah, I need to talk about this because those that have been following for the channel for a while, you know that I love eye effects. I've done sci-fi eye effects in the Paragon concept. I've done anime-based effects. I actually did the Naruto Sharingan and Rinnegan eyes. I love this kind of look because if we were to replicate this, you would use the same techniques that I've showed you guys in the tutorial, but the extra thing is that you will create a 2D asset with a HUD display, and then we would composition that in our live action eye, and that way we would basically pull off this effect of another character hacking remotely another person. Let me know, guys, if you would like me to make a tutorial on this effect. I love this glitchiness as well. Again, using 2D elements and HUD designs, we would incorporate them in on top of our kind of like first-person action clip. Great way to segment to the title. System reboot. Man, how awesome was this scene?
Wake the fuck up,
Samurai.
We have a city to burn.
Keanu Reeves. We need guns. Lots of guns. And that was it. That was epic. What a great, awesome cinematic. You gotta love game cinematics, man, because they're really something to behold. Like you guys have mentioned in past Filmmaker React episode, sometimes it's very tricky to kind of contemplate as to why, when someone has done such an incredible job creating this short cinematic, how come sometimes huge budget movies tend to fail in terms of reaching their audience the way some of these cinematics are done. Once again, I love sci-fi. It's such an amazing genre, and I think a reason for that is because when you compare fantasy genres, when there is magic and kind of mystic kind of things, it's not as relatable as a sci-fi would be, because even though this is science fiction, we can imagine a world in the future, a couple of years ahead, that this can take place, and this helps us, I think, to kind of relate more and be more like engaged a storyline in a world like this versus something more fantasy based. Now there are a lot of tutorials coming up, guys, and sci-fi effects like weapons, eyes and things like that are coming to the channel, so make sure to stick around if it's something that you're interested. And of course, let me know what trailers you would like me to react next and have a filmmaker's perspective discussion about it. This is a blast to make, guys. There are 2 more Filmmaker Reacts currently in the channel. If you're enjoying this series, please subscribe and be active and let me know what other trailers you would like me to have a look at. And that is it, guys. This was awesome. Stay safe, stay creative, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode next Sunday.